Special counsel Jack Smith has filed a new federal indictment against Donald Trump over his fake elector scheme. Now, the new superseding indictment was filed specifically to comply with the Supreme Court's historic ruling that essentially grants broad immunity to the president, in this case, former President Donald Trump. Now, Trump is facing the exact same charges that Smith brought against him in the federal election interference case last year. It's just that he needed to change a few things within the indictment having to do with certain evidence that was presented to the grand jury in order to comply with the Supreme Court's ruling. So the charges for Trump were and continue to be conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. So why is this being relitigated now? Well, why is the indictment, basically why is there a new indictment filed in this case? The new indictment was filed in order to respect and implement the views and instructions of a recent Supreme Court decision granting former presidents presumptive immunity for their official acts in office, Special counsel Jack Smith said in a separate court filing. So the indictment was slightly changed in light of the Supreme Court's decision. So for example, the new version has actually cut out some of the evidence that was used in the original filing. The new indictment removed all the allegations concerning Trump's attempts to strong-arm the Justice Department into supporting his false claim that the election had been rigged against him. And the initial charging document had accused Trump of conspiring with Jeffrey Clark, a loyalist within the Justice Department, who had promised to launch investigations into election fraud, even though other top-ranking department officials had warned him against it. And so the Jeffrey Clark portion of it has been taken out. He was referred to as co-conspirator number 4 in the original indictment. And again, because of the Supreme Court's ruling, a president's interactions with the Justice Department are considered part of his official duties. And as a result, those types of conversations enjoy, presidential immunity.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
And so if you're wondering, okay, why is this coming up now? As some of you may know, Judge Tanya Chutkan is the judge presiding over this case, and she actually gave Special Counsel Smith a deadline to respond to the Supreme Court's ruling, and that deadline was this Friday. And so that's the reason why he decided to file the new indictment in order to comply.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in a cranky mood because of the silly stories in the news today. So I'm gonna let it rip on this one. So the original problem here is the incredibly stupid and totally indefensible Supreme Court decision. So let me break it down for you so you understand that's not like, oh my God, he used a mean word, so that must be wrong. And the Supreme Court is so wise, they must have gotten this right. No, so they say an official act can't be looked into. All right, well, Donald Trump said while he was president, after he had lost, but while he's still in office, that we should terminate the Constitution. He said because of massive fraud, we should terminate all rules, regulations, and articles of the Constitution. So if an official act as president is to terminate the Constitution, terminate the US government, and do a coup, we're not allowed to look into whether that's illegal? I mean, how dumb do you have to be? That's the craziest thing I have ever heard. They discussed for 3 hours in the White House whether they should do martial law and declare Insurrection Act in effect, bring out the tanks against the American people. Well, he was president at the time. All right, so they didn't wind up doing it because his entire staff threatened to quit at once, but Trump very seriously considered it. General Flynn was the one advocating for it, among others. So what if they'd done it? What if Trump said, okay, my official act as president is roll out the tanks and just fire on all American citizens who don't agree with me? Official act, you can't look into it, he's got immunity. Dumbest thing in the world. So the Justice Department, the one that they took out. Okay, he communicating with his Justice Department about election fraud. Okay, if you say you're having a normal conversation, did election fraud happen or not? Totally within your official duties, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? What if you tell the Justice Department, hey, go rig the machines and make sure that you flip the results. You and I both know I lost, but I want you to flip it so I won. Sorry, you can't look into it. He's got immunity. That's an official act talking to the Justice Department. This is just the Supreme Court saying, we're Republicans, we don't care. We want the president to be able to cheat. We know the Democratic presidents never cheat, but we know a Republican president could just declare fascism, and then we'll be psyched. We'll be psyched. So official acts can't be looked into. That's it. So he refiles. None of these are official acts. I don't know how this case is going to get resolved in the end, because the Supreme Court has made a decision that is totally indefensible and unworkable. And of course, if I was Biden, I'd be like, oh yeah, official acts are immune. Let's go, let's go. And I'd go do 10, all right, realistically 2 horrible things on purpose, and I would declare them on purpose, and then go, what are you gonna do about it, huh? I'm immune. But Democrats would never do that because they're scared. So this decision is gonna stand, and this criminal, lifelong criminal, Donald Trump, who tried a coup against America, will probably skate.
Well, look, I'm gonna wait and see how this develops, because Jack Smith obviously refiled the indictment. Donald Trump is facing the exact same charges. And so he was able to refile, have the same charges against Donald Trump, and allegedly comply with the Supreme Court's decision. Now, I'm sure this will be challenged. Donald Trump is on Truth Social right now. He's absolutely losing his mind about this. He's very angry about it. But I mean, this is really going to test what the Supreme Court ruling really means. And if the new indictment stands and he's able to pursue this case, I mean, look, this is not going to be litigated and it's not going to go to trial prior to the election, okay? So if Trump wins the election, it's very likely that this will just be placed on hold until his next term is up. But assuming he loses the election, well, then he's going to go to trial, and I'm curious to see if this does in fact comply with the Supreme Court's ruling. And if it does, it shows that, yeah, it's gonna be a lot more difficult for special counsels to pursue criminal charges against former presidents, but it shows that it's possible.
Yeah, so I hear you, and I would love for it to succeed, because he did a coup. They should have called it a coup from day one, and they should have prosecuted him from day one. Merrick Garland's the worst attorney general we've ever had. And so, but remember, if Trump wins, this case is not a little over, it's 100% over. Because Anna, yeah, he would dismiss it. It doesn't wait. No, once the federal government dismisses the case, you can't recharge him, because that's double jeopardy.
You're right. So this is obviously a federal case, which means that if he wins, he would be able to pardon himself and it would never go to trial. Right?
And just to be clear, he doesn't have to pardon himself. He wasn't convicted. Just as the federal government, he could dismiss the case.
Yeah, dismiss the case. That's what I meant.
We're no longer pursuing this case.
Exactly.
And by the way, Republicans, you're so proud of his fake electors, right? You think where in the Constitution is the fake electors? You're so proud that he said, let's terminate the Constitution? No, I'm sure you got 100 excuses. Oh no, he said terminate the Constitution, but he was trolling or joking or taken out of context, or you know what, who cares about the Constitution? Let's do a monarchy, I mean a king, I mean a dictator, but he's not a dictator, except it's day one, except everything's taken out of context. He had fake electors. He doesn't care about this country. There's only one person he cares about, Donald Trump. He's like, break America so that I can stay in charge. He's like, where's the question? Only a sucker or a loser wouldn't betray his own country in order to stay in power. That's how Donald Trump thinks. So go and support that if you like.
Yeah, I think, look, one of the biggest disservices by the corporate press is that they focused on the spectacle of January 6th rather than focusing most of their reporting on the fake elector scheme. Look, let's keep it real, guys. And I'm gonna admit this as someone who actually understands it, took the time to understand it, but that's my job, right? That is my job, that is what I'm supposed to do. I don't think most Americans are even aware of the fake elector scheme. And I'm not just talking about Republicans, I'm just talking about Americans overall, because I think the media has done a pretty terrible job in explaining what the real issue is, what the real coup was, right? The Trump supporters storming the Capitol, yeah, that was bad. And the media loved focusing on it because all they care about is video, spectacle, spectacle, spectacle. But that wasn't the end all be all of the attempt to overturn the election. That was one tiny, tiny part of it.
Yeah, look, I kid around about it, but it's true. We're the fairest show in America. So what did the Democrats do wrong here? Hey, idiots. Focus on the fake electors, like Anna's saying. So when you don't do that, Anna's right. I bet you the overwhelming majority of the country has never even heard of fake electors. And when you challenge the right wing on, hey, why did he have fake electors instead of his own electors? Because remember, Trump had a slate of electors. He didn't use them because they didn't want to break the law and do a coup. So he had to get fake electors. Did the Democrats make that clear? In all their grandstanding about what an unbelievable threat to democracy Trump is, which apparently they never believed, but I always believed because of this. Did they ever bother to explain to the American people the fake electors? No, oh my God, general threat, he's orange. A bunch of people came into the Capitol. And look, I don't blame the average American. Yeah, so that January 6th looks terrible, cops got hurt, etc., right? A lot of people got hurt. But guys, like the average American thinks, yeah, but it's not like that was gonna work.
Right.
That they were gonna keep the building and then that's it, we can't get it back from them. Oh, the 3%ers are in there. The Proud Boys are in there. We'll never get the Capitol back, right? Everybody in their gut thinks, oh, it was a dumb riot. Okay, put them in jail for breaking the law, trespassing, all that stuff, and let's move on. Because they don't realize it was connected to a larger scheme to overturn the election through the fake electors. God, Democrats are frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, they held the hearings were televised, but it was a multi-day process, and most Americans don't have the time or resources to sit down and watch all of the hearings to understand what was really going on.
And they never explained that clearly. Jamie
Concisely, clearly, just help people understand what the fake elector scheme was really about. Because again, look, I think that oftentimes there's a lot of hyperbole in politics, and when it comes to political opponents, both sides will engage in that hyperbole. But when it comes to Trump's efforts in overturning the election, that is not hyperbole, and it wasn't just about January 6th. They needed to make it clear what the real issue was, and I just don't think that has happened. That's all.
Jamie Raskin did the best he could, and he's the only one that ever talks about it because he's a constitutional law scholar. Maybe they thought that Americans are just not, they have a low view of Americans. Oh, they won't be able to understand the difference between fake electors and real electors, but they'll understand shiny objects like people attacking a building. Maybe you're projecting, and that's the only thing you understand. Whereas every show I've gone on, right wingers are stumped on the fake electors because it makes no sense unless you're trying to steal the election. And in fact, as we showed you, Rudy Giuliani was on the show. We asked him about it. There's barely any articles that even talk about the fact that Trump didn't even use his own electors, right?
I know.
Right, so we asked Rudy about it. He's like, yeah, of course, because half of them wouldn't sign the paper. That's kind of a big story.
I know,
right?
I know, but we were the ones conducting the interview.
Yeah, I know. So, press, take a load off. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.